Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sura Yasin, verses 39 to 40. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. And as for the moon, we have fixed for its stages, till it returns to be bent like an old palm branch. Neither is it expedient for the sun that it should overtake the moon, nor can the night outstrip the day, and each swims along its own orbit. The orb of the movement of the sun and the moon has been arranged in a way that they never crush each other, and there will not appear any confusion in the creation of the night and the day. In spite of the attitude which said the sun was fixed, the Holy Quran says that the sun has motion, and a motion with a proper direction. Therefore, in order to complete this discussion, these noble verses of the Holy Quran speak about the moon and its zodiacal signs, and the system of the division of the days of the moon. It says, "And as for the moon, we have fixed for it the stages till it returns to be bent like an old palm branch." The objective meaning of stages is the same 28 places at the moon passes before its absence in the last nights of the lunar month, and absolute darkness, because when a lunar month is full 30 days, the moon is visible in the sky until the 28th night. By this night the moon appears very narrow with a yellow color and a little light. It is not visible during the 2 remaining nights, which is called in Arabic muhak. In the lunar months, of course, which contain 29 days, the month is usually seen in the sky until the 27th night, and the 2 remaining the absence of the moon nights is muhak. These stages are completely exact and accurate, in a manner that the astronomers, according to their minute calculations, can foretell them for 100 years sooner. This marvelous system gives order to the man's living. It is a natural celestial calendar which everybody is able to study. It is so that if a person is careful in the situation of the moon in different nights, he can, by looking at its situation, know exactly approximately which night of the lunar month that night is. The fact has been experienced because at the beginning the tips of the crescent are upward, and gradually the bulk of the moon increases until the 7th night, when a complete half of the moon is fully made manifest. Then its increasing state will continue on to the 14th night, when it becomes a full moon. From this night on, the moon decreases from downside until the 21st night, when the moon appears in a semicircle form. It continues being decreased until the 28th night, when the moon is seen with a weak, colorless crescent, the tips of which are downward. Yes, the main basis of man's living is formed by order, and without defining the exact time, having order is impossible. And Allah has set this exact monthly and yearly calendar in the sky for this very aim. It is from this hint that the tender concept of the Quranic phrase Kal Urjunil Kadim, to the best like an old palm branch, is made clear. As most commentators and philologists have said, the Arabic word urjun means that part of the bunch of dates which is attached to the tree. The explanation is that dates appear on the tree in the form of a bunch of dates. The end of this bunch is in the form of yellow wooden arc which is attached to the tree, and its tip is like a sweep, and the dates, like grapes, are joined to its strings. When the bunch of dates is cut, the wooden arc branch remains on the tree. When it dries, it is completely similar to the crescent before Muhak, because as the crescent of the last nights of the lunar month, which is in the east of the sky, appears nearly in the morning, it is like arc, yellow and withered, the tips of which is downward, and Urjun al-Qadim is also like this. This similarity, in fact, appears in different dimensions. They are from the point of arc form of the date branch, from the point of yellow color, from the point of withered state, from the point of its tips being downward, and from the point of its inside, the mass of green branches of a palm tree, which is not unlike the crescent of the last night inside the dark sky. The moon is qualified as old, which points to its oldness, because the more old these branches are, the more narrow, withered, and yellowish they become, and they are more alike to the crescent in the last lunar month. Glory be to Allah, that how many tenders and beauties there are in a short phrase of the Holy Quran. The last verse of the group of verses under discussion speaks about the perseverance and permanence of this order of year, month, day, and night. The Lord has arranged such a program for them that there appears the least change in their situation, and it is for this very perseverance that the history of man can be arranged fully. It says, "Neither is it expedient for the sun that it should overtake the moon, nor can the night outstrip the day, and each swims along in its own orbit." We know that the sun spends its term in 12 months during 1 year, while the moon passes its stages during 1 month. Therefore, the circular movement of the moon in its orb is 12 times quicker than the movement of the sun in its orb. That is why it implies that the sun in its own movement never reaches the moon, so that it performs its 1 year movement during 1 month, and that the 1 year system varies. Also, the night never outstrips the day, so that it brings part of it into itself, and that the present system alters, but all of them continue their path without the least change for millions of years. And thus, the state of the sun and the moon swimming in their orbits also come forth from this. There is also this probability that the purpose of the sun swims in its orbit is its movement accompanied with the solar system and accompanied with the galaxy inside which we are, because it has been proved that our solar system is a part of a great galaxy which is rotating round itself. As many non-commentators believe, the Quranic sentence, "Each swim along its own orbit," refers to the sun, the moon, the stars that have separate orbits for themselves. Though the word stars had not formally been mentioned in the verses, with regard to the mention of Layl, night, and companionship of the stars with the sun and the moon, the recognition of this meaning does not seem impossible. In particular, that Un has been mentioned in the plural form, the term yasbahun. There is also this interpretation that this sentence refers to each of the sun, moon, and night and day, because each night and day has an orb for itself, and exactly they turn round the earth. Always half of the earth is dark, while another half has light, and these two turn round the earth, one complete round during 24 hours. The Quranic term Yasbahun is derived from Sabahat, that according to Mufradat by Raqib originally means move speedily in water and space, which points to the quick movement of the heavenly spheres. It has likened them to some intellectual beings that continue swiftly in their rotation. This fact has also been proved today that the celestial spheres are moving in their path and with very surprising speeds, and sometimes with extraordinary speed. Verses 41 to 42. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. And a sign for them is that we bore their offspring in a loaded ship, and we have created for them the like of it whereon they ride. Taking benefit from ships and animals has frequently been mentioned as a divine blessing. Former verses were about the signs of Allah in the creation of the sun and the moon, as well as the night and the day, and also the earth and the blessing of the earth. Now, in the verse under discussion, the words are about the seas, and a part of the bounties of the merits of the seas, the movement of the ships over them for taking passengers and commerce. Moreover, the movement of these ships in the middle of the oceans is not unlike to the movement of celestial spheres in the ocean of atmosphere. So at first it says, and a sign for them is that we bore their offspring in the loaded ship. The Arabic pronoun lahum not only returns to the pagans of Makkah, but also to the servants and creatures of Allah, whom was spoken about in the previous verses. The term Durriya, as Raqib says in Mufradat, originally means little offspring, although it sometimes is used in ordinary speaking for children, young and old. This word is used both singular and plural, and that it implicitly says that Allah bore their offspring or small children in these ships, without that it speaks about them. Perhaps it is for this sake that offspring need more to this still amount, since adults are more prepared for walking and paving the beaches on foot than little children. Moreover, this meaning is more fitting than moving their sympathy. The application of the Quranic term mashhun, full, points to this fact that not only they themselves embark in the ship, but also their goods and their necessary means are carried with them. However, the movement of the ships is the greatest and the most important means of transportation for human beings, and their benefit is 1,000 times more than the vehicles. This is the result of the particular specialities of water and the specific gravity of the materials that an ordinary ship has usually been made therewith. All of these are the might and forces that Allah has made subservient to man, and each of them and also their entire existence is a sign among the divine signs. In order that it should not misunderstand that the only God-given mount is ship, in the next verse it adds, and we have created for them the like of it wherein they ride. These are the vehicles which run on land or in the sky and atmosphere and carry both men and their heavy means. Some commentators have simply rendered this holy verse into camel, which has been called the ship of the desert. Some others have rendered it into all beasts, and some others into airplanes and aircrafts which have been invented in our time. And applying the Quranic phrase khalaqna, we created, about them is for the view that their materials and means have been created formerly. But the verse has vast scope of meaning which envelopes all these concepts and other than them too. Of course, in some verses of the Quran, the word beasts has been numerously mentioned besides fulk, that means sheep, like the verse which says, and made for you of the sheep and cattle what you ride on. And also in Surah Al-Mu'mineen, verse number 80, we recite, and upon them and upon the ships you are carried. But these verses do not contrast the generality of the concept of the verse. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسول الله الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين.